To do this brochure recreation, I'm going to walk through some of the steps. Some of it I may even just do instead of narrating, but I will cover a few points. Initially, I'm just going to do the outside, and then the next tutorial will be the inside. So first of all, I've opened up the document that I gave you. This is pre-set up for you, so it's an 8.5 by 11 that's in landscape orientation. And you'll notice that there's labels for each panel that you're doing. So there's the front-facing fold, and that'll make sense when we have our class and our lecture. And there's the outside back and the front cover. So what this is the outside of your brochure. And keep in mind that when you're doing this, these labels are here to help you do that. Keep in mind that your front cover, when you have a brochure opened, that it is on the far right, and then the outside back is in the middle, and then that fold in is on the left end. And what this is called is a tri-fold brochure. It's a little deceiving because it says tri-fold. It's actually 2 folds and 3 panels. That's where the tri comes from, the 3. So another thing you may notice is that the fold in is a little shorter than the back and the cover. So if I just make a box here to indicate the size, and then I bring it over there, it's a little shorter, and then the front cover is there. This guide is probably a bit off according to the folds. It could move over a bit. But the reason that the fold in is shorter is so that it doesn't bind with the edges when we fold this together. And again, it'll make more sense when we have our lecture. I'll have a sample to show you, and you'll understand more what we're referring to in that regard. So this is your outside, and then you have the inside. So the inside left, middle, and right. And typically on a brochure, the inside is a spread. So to recreate this brochure, what I'm going to do first is actually place in the reference sample, so I don't have to keep going out to review it. I can place it in and just look and work as I go. And the idea of the recreation is to get as close as you can to an exact recreation in all of the little details. And the reason we do recreations like this as part of the learning tool is so that you don't have to worry about coming up with the creative. You just have something to follow that really lets you focus on the execution, and your objective exists already with the sample that you're recreating. So then you're able to reacquaint yourself with some of the tools or even learn some new ones. So I'm going to go File, Place here, and just bring in the sample for the outside. And I'll bring in the sample for the inside. Oops. Now you'll notice there I left this box, this frame selected when I did my second place, so it just went in there. So I just did undo so that I can get it out of there. There we go. So this one's actually a little bigger. The sample is, so I'm just going to size that down. Remember, when you're scaling an image in a frame, you're going to do Command Shift so that you scale both the object in the frame and the frame itself. Okay, so these are our reference samples for each side. And you'll want to remember to go to View and Display Performance and turn on to High Quality Display so that these images show correctly. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do the inside first, and this allows us to look at a few different tools as we go. The idea behind doing something like this, even a regular brochure, is to always do big picture first. And by big picture, I mean you're going from the larger aspects down to the details. So in this case, I'm just going to do the panels, and then I'll work into the larger flower image here, and then I'll bring in the content and the logos and administrative information and so on. Okay, so first I'm going to make a rectangle here, and I'm going to the bleed guide. Remember to go to your bleed guides. And I'm going to use my eyedropper. I'm going to go down to this one, not the color theme tool. You're going to go to the eyedropper, and I'm actually going to sample the color here. Now it's going to the stroke because that's what I had selected. We're just sampling the color. It's not this is an image, so it doesn't know that that's actually a fill. So it sampled whatever was in the front here. So I'm just going to switch that to fill. And then we have another panel. Now what I want to do here is make sure that I don't have a separation between panels. So I'm actually going to copy this. I just did Command C, and I'm going to paste in place, which will put it on top of itself, and then pull this handle over to the other guide. So what that ensures is that I don't have a blank space here. It's actually a little bit of a safety. So I'm just going to fill that with black. Same thing. Make sure my stroke is set to none. And make sure you're on Essentials Classic. Mine switched, I guess, when it updated. So I like to be on Essentials Classic because of the object menu up here and the easy access to the colors and so on. My computer seems to be acting a little bit funny, so excuse any glitches that you're seeing happen. Okay, so I've got the first panel, the second panel, pretty easy. This panel is sampled from that color. The middle panel is sampled from that one. And now the third panel is going to be this image. But I'm actually going to bring this panel across. I'll stretch it over. And just to have the frame there, and now I'll place the image into that frame. And I'll remove the color from it as well. And that would be an outside component. So it would be the cover, and there's the image. Okay, now you're going to notice on this that on the sample, the image has been flipped. So we can actually select the image, and we can go to the object menu, transform, and flip. We're going to flip it horizontally from side to side. And then it's going to disappear there. So we want to select it. I had to grab it by the frame and move it into place. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's really an initial big picture portion of the recreation, just the backgrounds. But you can see that once you've done that, you're just working in the smaller details. And what I'm going to do is lock these. I'm going to select them all, and with them all selected, I'm going to go to the object menu and Command L or lock. And that way I can work on top of them and they're not going to move around. I know they're what I want, they're where I want them, so they won't move. So now I'm just going to work left to right and get all of these items in. The biggest item that I have here is the flowers, so I'm going to place that in. And that is in the outside components. That will be in the middle, the pink flowers EPS. And what that has, it already has a clipping path applied to it. So we can place it in and it will you can see the background is there on the thumbnail, but when we place it, the background will disappear. I'll try and get that placed and sized as accurately as I can, so it's a little big. So I can make it a little smaller, Command Shift. Okay, not bad. Okay, and then again, I don't want this moving, so I can once again lock that as well, Command L. And then be sure to save as you go along. With something like this, it won't take much to lose a lot of work. Okay, so what do we have going on over here? We've got the type, and technically it looks like there's probably a type wrap here. We also have here a rule. So I'm going to zoom in on this. We can talk about it for a moment. So we've got the title and these two typefaces. Now if you're on a PC or you don't have the typefaces, that's okay. You can use different typefaces. Just try and replicate the look that you're doing here. I gave you the typefaces for this, so if you're on a Mac, you should be okay, and I'll show you how you can install those now because we're getting into the type portion.